At 22 past 4, we'll actually talk to a bloke who was there on the steps of Parliament House on the Remembrance Day, Dismissal Day in 1975, joining us a little after 4:30. But now the Queensland organisers of March for Australia, we've spoken to them a few times. Scott Challen, of course, the bloke who runs this. They're now parting ways with the National Coordinating Group. Remember right at the outset I said these marches are great, except it's only ever as good as the worst people that show up. You see, the trouble is some of these marches have ended up with a whole bunch of nasty people, and I mean nasty people. And they've been speaking at the Melbourne March and all these other things. So the Queensland organisers want nothing to do with them, and good on them. Scott Challen joins me. That's basically the story, isn't it, Scott?
Well, I guess that's part of the story, Gary, but let's not also forget that a lot of really good Australians have been involved.
Oh, that's the part I do get. I do get that part, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Queensland organisation just felt that the messaging was a little opaque when it came to platforming these people, and we wanted to have a clear delineation in Queensland that we aren't the NSN, we're not affiliated with the NSN, the National Socialist Network, and we wanted to make sure that Queenslanders had confidence and trust in the leadership of this organisation going forward, especially given that there will be more events.
Yeah, exactly. So March for Australia now is so good. People are trying to infiltrate it. That's what you're saying. You want to keep it pure.
We want to keep it pure. It is an Australian movement, and it is about making sure that we are creating opportunities for our Australians going forward. Australia has some significant issues right now, and I've spoken about this before. Massive amounts of people here on bridging visas, student visas. The university sector is rorting this thing, and we know that a lot of people are here when they shouldn't be here, and that's putting heaps of pressure on the living standards for Australians, cost of living, and we need to have a serious conversation about how we start to remigrate some of these people.
And of course the problem is that we do need people in this country to do stuff. There's a shortage in the healthcare sector, there's a shortage in hospitality, there's a shortage in the building industry, which I know you know inside and out. But the people that are here are not the people that can do those things. That's the problem, isn't it?
That's a big part of the problem, Gary. We're not vetting these people accordingly. As you know, and I've said it before, only 2% of the people that came into Australia in the last 2 years had any construction skills.
Yeah.
So when people say to me, oh, we need people with skills, you're not bringing those people in. And the reality is that we have so many people, 2.9 million people here on bridging and student visas right now, that literally could be reassessed and said, okay, do we really need to have this many people putting this much pressure on Australia? And let's also remember that we want to give Australian kids the opportunities to get into these jobs and build careers, and a lot of those opportunities are being taken from them right now. These kids, and this is a really polarising moment for our country, feel like they have no stake in Australia. This is the messaging that I'm getting from the multiple events that we've run now. They don't feel like they belong here, they don't feel like they have a future here, and they don't feel like they have any stake in the country. Now, when your kids start to feel like that, they start leaning into fringe extremist ideologies, and that's how Australia is playing out right now.
And the trouble is, and I've said this to you as well, that Victoria has a different vibe about it. It is the place to flee. It loves a protest. It'll have a protest about anything. There are people well rehearsed on infiltrating the protest. Look what happened to the great Moira Deeming when some people showed up and started flying salutes around with masks on. And she got blamed for it. I mean, it's just madness.
And I think that's one of the main reasons that we want to make sure there's separation in the Queensland movement from any potential involvement or opaque infiltration by those organisations into what should be a March for Australia is about Australians first. That's it.
And it's a family-friendly environment. I watched some of those marches arrive with the first one at Rome, Australia. I didn't participate, but I was there for a family event, and I was watching people, and I was thinking, well, there's just everyday people doing something they've never ever done before. March for Australia.
Wasn't it great? So many people, so many families. And that's why we plan on Australia Day next year to run a huge event in the Botanical Gardens here in Brisbane. We've got the permission. We're working with QPS, and we're going to put on a sensational Australia Day, a celebration of our country, but we're also there to plant the flag and let our politicians know that we want answers and we want to have a serious debate about the future of this country and what it looks like.
How are you funding this Queensland group?
Queensland has been self-funded, Gary. I've been one of the key donors to this, and look, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have worked hard and put some resources aside, and I'm passionate about my country. Plus, when the Liberal Party kicked me out, mate, I didn't have to make those donations to those guys anymore, so we can put it to better use.
Nice, so you got punted too.
Oh, I got booted, yeah, with no recourse. And thanks for coming. See you later.
Yeah, they're not very amused about anybody who's got something to offer in the Liberal National Party. You've got to follow them or you find the door.
This movement, and one of the reasons that Queensland has done this as well, is about building the political wagon or the vehicle that will go forward with good policy and good people to carry the banner for our movement. We want to make sure that we've got policy in place to be able to deal with this.
Well, it is important, isn't it?
It is.
As you say, young people are feeling dismayed, unable to find homes. The price of housing in Brisbane, second only to Sydney now, rising rapidly. It's more expensive here than in London, in Miami, and countless other well-known international cities. And it's all off the back of, I'm a cashed-up migrant, I'm here on a study visa or whatever, my parents are financing it, I've got to live somewhere, and they're taking houses that we could be
And look at the stories that are coming through now about potential mortgage fraud in Australia.
Really?
That's absolutely, Gary. There was a raid on the weekend with a mortgage broker in Sydney who's been forging documents for migrants to buy houses here. I can guarantee you that there is a lot of that happening in Australia right now, which is once again pushing those opportunities for Australians further out. And that's not being racist, that's a fact.
But Scott Challen, the key thing here is we've still got to find a way to bring us all together, haven't we? And if people are here, no matter where they've come from, how long they've been here, whatever the visa is, it's got to be in Australia's best interest that they're here. We need people to clean our hotel rooms. We need people to provide medical services. We need those people. Have we forgotten that, you know, we're not setting the conditions for why people come and stay here? I think that's the problem. It's a policy mix that's wrong.
Yeah, but by doing that, Gary, let's face it, we're bringing in a ton of people to do these menial jobs. We're not actually giving Australian kids the opportunities to get their foot in the door either. And not only that, but we're suppressing wages. That data that came out the other week, that real wages in Australia now are at 2011 levels. That's treason. We've gone backwards 15 years in wage growth in this country because we have put downwards pressure on wages by bringing in so much labour.
And that's really what I think the thing is. They just want big volumes of people here, and people get paid what they get paid, and unions will have a fight over wages and conditions.
Well,
from
the
time
unions
to
still
time.
get their union fees.
Yeah,
no
they
matter
still
what.
get their fees.
And let's face it, this isn't a single party issue. This is a uniparty issue. The Labor and Liberal governments have in conjunction with each other, facilitated the processes that are now driving so many people into this country.
Well, high energy prices, I think, is the number one big issue. Hopefully they'll sort that out in the Liberal Party room over the next couple of days. Fingers crossed, making a decision to make a decision. And the migration thing is the second big issue. They're both huge issues.
It's the next big fight here. Look, net zero it needs to die. It needs to end. We need to get back to doing what we do best. And it's not very hard to understand that your electricity bills are going up. They're going to give you a rebate from the federal government from borrowed money, because we don't have any money, to continue the Ponzi scheme that's kind of keeping this country alive right now.
Well, the other problem, Scott, is that it becomes very non-compelling, the reason to come to Australia anymore.
Look, they've been
I don't
sold
know
a lot.
how we can get good, skilled people here when it's so darn expensive.
Australia should be a golden ticket. Coming to Australia should be an absolute privilege. It shouldn't be open to everyone in the third world. And we want to make sure that we're bringing in the absolute very best. But first of all, we need to shut the gates and have a proper discussion about what the future of this country looks like. And that gives our kids the opportunity to have homes and a career and a future and a family here.
Okay, bottom line, much for Australia, Queensland, splitting from the national group to keep it Queensland focused and keep it strong. That's really what it's about.
And don't forget Australia Day next year. We're going to raise the flag for Australia Month, and we're going to make sure that everyone knows that we are Australian patriots and Australia first. If it's not Australia first, we don't want it.
Okay, March for Australia, organiser Scott Challen, 133 882. It's 4:30.